This episode of Reasonably Spontaneous Conversation is brought to you in part by Clay Boykin Life and Business Coaching, because we all get stuck at times. For more information, visit clayboykin.com. By Janelli Bean, for fun and engaging children's books with cute and colorful characters. For more information, visit janellibean.com. And by Wise Owl Organizing, simply set up for you. Organizing consulting and clarity coaching, virtual or in person. For more information, visit wiseowlorganizing.com.
Hello, world. It's me, Dennis, and welcome to Reasonably Spontaneous Conversation. I have two stars on the show today, Lilly Mae and Linda Rose. Come on, women. There y'all are. Hello, stars of the Tardan Media Network. You know how long I'm 74 years old this year, and I've had television shows and I've worked on what you guys have done with your audience share and what you've been as the star of the Tardan Media Network, having the greatest fan share has been wonderful. I want to thank you for the work that you've done there.
Oh, thank you so much.
And welcome, and Linda, welcome to you, LR. And I want to tell you though, but as impressive as your numbers are, I'm much more interested in the arc of your professionalism, because I was watching your show last night, and I was watching the rhythms that you two were having together, and I was remembering your first shows when you began, and I was watching the repartee that was going back and forth, and I was going, holy smoke, these two have really worked hard on this. Congratulations. Can you take me back? Who was the first one to know that you wanted to do something?
I think it was kind of both, because we both had the idea to start with.
Yeah, I think it was more mutual than anything, because me and Lily both were presented the idea around the same time.
Yeah.
And it kind of just me and Lily instantly had like this like friendship connection. And
Beautiful.
It was just kind of like this mutual thing I think that we both kind of went through together.
So was this 2021?
I think we started at the beginning of 2022, right?
Beginning of 2022, right? That was the first part of where you were going. Now, both of you.
I think we found out around the beginning and end of December, beginning of January, and we officially started our official episode was February 2nd.
Did you have an arc? Both of you are emerging powers, emerging women who are coming into this time. You're about to both go to high school, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so in the United States, those who are not in the United States, this is the ninth grade, and you're both 14 as you're going into this time. So this is an opportunity. So you're both coming into your consciousness. When you look out on the landscape, Lily, do you see the differences of how men and women are treated differently in the media, treated differently in business, and treated differently by the law? Is this something that you see from your vantage point?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't see it as much when I was first starting out. I started at like 11. I'm starting to see it a little bit more, especially more with like my music. I've been working on my music and my media. I see it a bit in there with like trying to get represented too. I know as a young girl, it's hard to do that with getting the same like representation and stuff like that. And that's part of why, like, Orchid Times, I was so passionate about starting it, is because I want to be able to change or help change this in the future. And I think that a main portion of being able to change it is definitely like using our voices and coming together.
Wonderful. LR, how about you? Was your perspective on seeing how men and women are treated differently, both in the culture and in the media, as you're looking at this? What was that impact on you?
I think that mainly what I first started seeing it when I was really really little, because my grandmother, who is our editor at Orchid Times, MM is probably what you all know her for. She was always one to tell me to always put myself out there, not to be kind of stuck in my own shell, and to kind
Hmm.
of put myself out there, to know that because there's going to be people that aren't going to agree with me on stuff, and there's going to be people who feel like there's going to be some feel the need to be fake and kind of feel the need to not be themselves around me instead of just telling me the truth. And I think that I've seen it so much because I've always been one to put myself out there because of her. And especially at school, we have boys that like to go on and rate girls
Hmm.
on their Snapchat stories
Yep.
from 1 to 10. And the dress codes at my middle school this year was completely insane. They sent out a voice thing that was really, really offensive to any plus size girls, and it was very very just offensive really to any
Yep.
people part of the plus size community. But most of the dress codes were just pointed towards girls in that
Yeah.
newsletter, and a lot of parents and a lot of girls were very mad. And we actually, in that time, our school had a little peaceful protest. All the boys from our school came to school in crop tops um, for the girls, which was amazing. I was home with COVID when that happened. Well, not with COVID, but I was in within 6 feet of someone who had
Yep.
COVID for more than 15 minutes. So I had to stay home for a week. But it was just such an amazing time. And they did that for the girls, and they kind of planned it. No one knew it was happening, and they came to school all in crop tops, and only a few boys got dress coded. So it was just this huge thing that they did, and it definitely changed the way the administration looked at us.
Wow, that's amazing to be able to see that. Now, when you decided to take this turn into media, can you look back at the early shows and can you look back and go, wow, look at how can you talk about the production experience to be able to get, because I'm watching the depth of your questions. I'm watching the how you're talking back and forth and the comfort that you're having. Linda, can you start, LR, and talk about that, and then I want to hear from you, Lily.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the in-depth questions, I've only written a few of the questions that you see on Orchid Times. Most of the questions are actually written by Lily, because
Hmm.
she's amazing at coming up with those questions.
Isn't she?
She is like she is the heart of the questions. She's
Hmm.
always the one that comes up with them, and she's just that's definitely like the heart. She's the heart of the questions and the interviews, because she does come up with those amazing questions. And definitely begin looking at the first of going at our episodes. I do look at that quite a lot. Me and Lily are a lot more comfortable on camera now, and I mean,
Hmm.
she was comfortable on camera before, and I was not so much. And it's just, we also have our weaknesses in being in the film and like being in the
Sure.
TV industry and everything. We've reflected off each other, and I mean, me and Liv have FaceTimes about like how much better we're doing, and we also have given each other a lot of advice, and we have reflected off each other, and I think it really shows in our episodes now. Um, and it just shows how our growth compared to the episodes we when we started.
It's wonderful. I mean, this is the arc of the show that you've done. Lily, your where do your questions come from? Do you do this in your reading? Is it part of this process? Do you interview others? Do you get them from your wide social network? Well, where does this happen?
Well, when I was first starting to brainstorm with like different topics, I really watched a lot of interviews to get ideas of how these other really great interviewers are taking these questions and then just making the audience and the the interviewee feeling
Hmm.
really more comfortable. And that's like the thing I was going for. So definitely help watching other interviews helped a lot with that. I know then too, like just like looking into like the person and interviewing and not looking into the person's background before you interview them really is
Yeah.
helpful too, to get an idea of how to specialize the questions more fit to them so it's more comfortable.
Yeah, it is. It's wonderful to be able to see. So now that you have a whole season behind you and you're taking some rest, being able to do this before you get into your second season, what do you guys plan? Do you think about here are the topics that we want to talk about? Are you waiting for the know whether or not we're even going to have a democracy coming in this next year? How we're going to do that? How are you staying politically interested and politically active and active to what you're going to be talking about? I'll ask you that, Lily, and then I'd like to come to you, Linda.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I think it's really important to cover more of these hot topic issues. I know we started working on that more at the end of season 1 of Orchid Times, talking about Roe versus Wade being overturned and then starting this red lipstick campaign we were working on. I want to start covering more of those hot topic issues. I know we have ideas to do a episode more focused on domestic violence survivors and stuff like that. And I definitely want to just keep an eye out on these new events happening and make sure to talk about them on Orchid Times because it's super helpful and important that since we have a platform to use our voices, we make sure we use it for what matters on here, and we need to keep on speaking out on these issues.
And LR, what is your sense of that? Because I know that you love poetry and you love art, and I mean that is and writing in that, and so because we were talking beforehand that you love Poe. And I know that there are a couple of things that I want to do here on the show before we go. Is that I would really like to know a little bit about your joy of poetry, uh, LR, and why Poe? What is it about Edgar Allan Poe that speaks to you?
Well, I mean, I like I said on Orchid Times, I loved poetry before, but I started loving I started writing poetry when I met John Phipps, who was kind of really my inspiration to start writing.
Hmm.
Because I mean, his poetry is absolutely insane. I love reading it. But um, I guess for Edgar Allan Poe, I have this huge book of his stories and poems that I got at the thrift store, and I started reading it. I mean, it's huge. It has like over 800 pages in it. And I started reading it a week before that our last episode. And I guess he's so real in his poetry. He doesn't really he doesn't I can't think of the saying, but he doesn't really just like uh I mean, if you like do your nails or anything and paint
Sure.
them, there's a top coat that you put on so like nothing comes off. I guess he doesn't really put a top coat on. He just kind of keeps it very real. And
Mm.
in a lot of poetry, that's what I look for. That's what I enjoy is very real poetry because I've never been one to really be talk fake or do anything like that. I've always been one to be honest because I think being honest is really important. He's just real. He's just like that. He doesn't just put this top coat and everything and make it seem like it's fine. He gives the realness and everything. And I think that's really important because there's so much fake in this world today. And I think
Yeah.
he just he he didn't give the fake. He gave the real, and
Yeah.
I just love that.
Absolutely. Lily, why do you think there is, from your experience and your thought, what is this artifice that we have to put out that fake facade in order to be able to try to impress people? I know I have that too. It's something that we've had all our life. It's in our culture. The willingness to be real is something that I see both of you really go after, and it's something that inspires me because it helps me to be able to do exactly the same thing.
This is a really great topic. I know I had a lot of struggles actually, like being real and talking when I was first starting out. I know Orchid Times has helped me so much with that. I think again, it's a little bit of society's standards about what we should say and what we should be like. And I think it's important to let go of those and just be yourself, do what you want, talk, and like never be afraid to like talk about stuff that means a lot to you and bring up topics and use your voice. I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind, especially when you are on media and even outside in the world too. It's really important just to be yourself and not let other people's opinions get in the way of being you.
Yeah. LR, pick
Yeah,
up and take the ball and run with it.
Yeah, I mean, society standards today are absolutely outrageous. You have to, today in society, you have to look a certain way to be accepted. You have to act a certain way to be accepted. No one can really be themselves because everybody expects them to be like everybody else or everybody on. And I think a lot of people don't realize that everything you see on social media, half the pictures you see on Instagram, there's a lot of Photoshop, and there's so much things that celebrities do to their Instagram to make it look like
Yep.
that. There's a lot of fake in that, and there's so much more real, and everyone needs to real. I think that
Hmm.
it's just, there needs to be this big realization that there is no perfect, that there's definitions of it, but there's no true perfect. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people online see a girl with a, or a boy with a nice body that they wish they had, so, and they see that so much, and they're so used to saying they wish they had that, that they don't learn to accept their own. And I think that that's
Exactly.
a big part of it. They see these expectations and they don't have, and they see these fake expectations, these super high expectations that cannot be met by anybody, and
Sure.
they set too high an expectation for themselves, to the that leads to a lot of mental health issues. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. It's so much you have to deal with, and really we just need to learn that those expect you have to set the expectations that are fit for you, because everyone
Yeah.
has to have those different expectations can't be the same for everybody, because that's what leads into these blockages
Hmm.
and all the stuff that just happens when it's not real. You have to learn to cope with it and set your own expectations and kind of accept yourself before accepting other people more than you accept yourself.
How have you gone, Lily? How have you gone through that period of self acceptance? Because I'm going through that now. At 74, accepting myself at this age, with a granddad bod, and having my own way of aging and of growing and learning. So I'm going through that self acceptance, except I'm going through it as a white male of privilege, completely different experience. So you going through, and your Lily, and you going through your self acceptance, and LR, you going through your self acceptance. Can you talk about your journey, Lily?
Yeah, I know a lot of the self-acceptance for me, I had issues with a lot with using my voice and speaking out. I always have been passionate about it, about using your voice, but it took me a while to actually become comfortable. And a lot of it was that I had anxiety about actually getting on places and
Yep.
talking. And that's been something I've had to overcome. And again, part of the self-acceptance thing too is just accepting and being not afraid to go out and talk about this stuff. A major part, I'm really passionate about using our voices, and I think that that's really the only way that you're going to be able to spread the message too of other people being able to accept themselves, is just making sure people know to use their voice.
That I
Absolutely.
love that, because you guys are using this as a form of video therapy. That you're actually using it as, because you're forcing yourself into self acceptance. Because when we get a chance to look at ourselves, and we get a chance to see ourselves, and see ourselves I think there's something about that, because I don't think that people in the 1950s or before really had a chance to see themselves. And if we can get past that and accept ourselves, it can be incredibly powerful. Have you felt a freedom, LR, from that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely dealing with my disorder brought a lot of depression and anxiety,
Hmm.
and dealing with everything. I mean, everything at once, and especially finding a therapist has been so hard for me,
Absolutely.
and since COVID and everything, everyone's short staffed, and some places don't take my dad's insurance, and it's
Yep.
like this whole thing. And I mean, Orchid Times has helped so much with that, and I think it really is like video therapy. I mean, it's self acceptance is something I struggled with
Oh,
my whole life. And I think I've heard so much. I mean, I have friends that have those issues like me, and I think a lot of people, when they go through this self-acceptance stage, or maybe it lasts forever and it could last a lifetime, I think they
yep.
also think they're alone, and they're scared to reach out to people. I was like that. I was scared. I felt alone, and then
Yeah.
I just made the decision one day to go to somebody. I went to
Oh,
my dad and my grandmother,
That's
And
wonderful.
it was the hardest thing, I think, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because I was scared that they were going to tell me that I was alone. That's what I was scared for. And I went to them, and it was the best decision I've ever done. It's the best decision I've ever made, because if I didn't go to them, I'd be in this pit of, I'd just be in a pit. I'd
Yeah.
be, I'd, it'd be like going off the road and just sitting there, not asking for help. It's the thing I would have been stuck in, and I'm so glad I went to get help, because I am so happy I am not stuck, because if
Yep.
I was stuck, it would have just been a wreck for me. And especially at the age I'm at,
Yep.
it's something that's have helped me so much. I'm just glad I did.
There is, and one of the ways I loved you, the way you phrased that, LR, is that it isn't something that we recover from. It's very much like alcoholism or any other addiction. We can only do it for today. We can only say, okay, well, I'm going to deal with my depression today. Today, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get some therapy. I'm going to talk to someone. I'm going to reach out to you because I need your help. I'm going to ask for your hand, Lily, that you'll allow me to be able to know that I'm not alone. Because that was when I was growing up, I thought I was the one broken person. Everybody else had it all figured out, but I didn't. And that secret, that feeling that I was so screwed up and everybody else knew what was going on, was so toxic. And it took me decades to work through that. And I'm so grateful that you guys are facing that now.
I think it's just such a big issue, and I think the worst thing for me, I mean, is that people think they're alone, and when people think
Yep.
they're alone, like I said, I've gone through it. When you think you're alone, you're scared, you're terrified, you think that this is something you have to deal with,
Yep.
and it's never really depression and anxiety and my disorder. It's a swelling in my brain. It's a chemical
Yep.
imbalance, and that it's always going to be there, but there are people that can help you suppress it in a
Yep.
good way and
Yep.
not suppress it in a bad way.
No,
I've
and there's a mind-body connection, right? Because our affirmations and what we tell ourselves have an actual impact and effect on our physiology.
Absolutely, I know. I started working out and eating a lot healthier recently, and that has helped me so much. Eating healthy
Yeah,
has made a big change in my mental health,
yeah,
because I'm taking care. At first I was just focusing on my mental health. I wasn't focusing
sure.
on anything else. I was just focused on trying to get my mental health better, and focusing on everything at once, even though it may be a lot at first. If you focus on everything at different times, set goals for
Hmm.
yourself, it can help you so much, because taking care of the rest of your body, not just your mind, is a huge thing. You have to take care, if you want to get better, you have to take care of every single part of yourself. And that's a
That is,
really, really big thing.
God, that's wonderful. And this is where we take care of ourselves physically, emotionally, intellectually, and physically, and spiritually. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a fall. It's a complete. Lily, a couple of things that I want to do here beforehand in these last few minutes. First thing I want to do is that you've written a beautiful song, Lily, and this is one of the things that you do. And would you play it for us, because I've got the words here, and would love to be able to have the words and be able to follow them along. And I want to talk about the song and talk about you're doing it. So why don't you play that for us, if you will, please?
Yeah, totally. So the song I'm gonna do, it's an original. It's one that I've written. It's called "Links in the Chain," and this is the Orchid Times theme song. This plays on our intro. So I'm gonna go ahead and move over to my piano and play it for you guys really quick.
Sure.
Okay. This is "Links in the Chain." We've got each other's backs. Swear only listening to the facts. Isn't it a big world? But we could cause some trouble. Forever freedom doesn't mean I'm a rapper.
Oh, do I wait so? You don't have to be a star to raise the bar. We are links in the chain. Yeah, not all the same. You think you have control, always trying to grab a hold. We don't care what others say. We're gonna do it our way. We won't play your games. Not gonna let you see our fate. We don't fit the mold. Or do I we're told? You don't have to be a star to raise the bar. We are links in the chain. Yeah, not all the same.
So I wrote this poem in the middle of a panic attack. Poetry has been a really great coping mechanism for me lately, and I wrote this when I was in a full on panic attack, and it's I'm still kind of preparing a name, but I'm calling it Breath at the moment. So I guess this is Breath by me, Wonderful and Rose. Breathing is hard. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I didn't breathe. Some people would call that death, but why do they assume I'm talking about actual breathing? I'm not. I'm talking about the breath of my thoughts. The breathing of my thoughts keeps me awake at night, wandering through the memories I wish I could forget. So, what would happen if I stopped breathing? Would I be blank or full of regret?
Here's a point of personal privilege that I want on this. Okay. Lily, I want you to talk to Linda Rose, and I want you to talk to her and tell her what she means to you and how she has changed your life.
Absolutely. So Linda has absolutely
No,
helped me get.
I want you to say is you.
Uh,
Talk directly to this precious light of yours.
So you have definitely helped me to get more comfortable with just being myself on camera and not in just being myself and making sure that I talk about everything that I'm passionate for and I'm not afraid to do that either. I've getting on camera and talking was something I was so nervous to do beforehand. I know earlier you were talking about how I was much more comfortable on camera, but I definitely was not for the first show. And you've definitely helped me get more calm on here and make sure I keep my cool even in stressful situations.
Linda, would you please talk to your precious Lilly Mae and tell her what she means to you?
Absolutely. You have helped me so much. I was so excited for the show and I had so much anxiety, and you definitely suppressed it. I mean, when our FaceTime calls, me and Lily we sometimes like want to go on FaceTime for maybe just 20 minutes to talk about an episode, and we'll stay on FaceTime for an hour just laughing. And it's definitely, Dennis said, talk to your light, and you are definitely a light in my life. I mean, you mean so much to me. You're a huge part of Orchid Times, and you've helped me so much. We've definitely bounced off each other, and I think it's important that our friendship stays connected. And I mean, not that it's going to break, because I don't think that's possible.
Totally.
And so many shows, so many opportunities, so many topics. I want to thank you both for leading the way on Tardan Media and being able to be able to do what you're doing. I'm so excited about this year, both of you going into high school and learning exactly what this, I don't know if you've ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but they talk about how high school is hell. And this opportunity to be able to see, all the mix and the cosmic soup and the testosterone and the estrogen and all the stuff that is just flowing back and forth. And oh my goddess, what are you possibly going to do? And for you to lead us through this and to know that there can be sanity on the other side through the grace of your art and conversation and your lives. I'm honored to have you on as long as you wish. And believe me, this is your launching pad. There will be a time for you to be able to fly and go. And all I will ask is that you remember us.
Absolutely. Before we go out, is it okay if I ask you a question, Dennis?
Anything.
I wanted to ask, where do you stand on the media's expectation for women?
I believe that there is I am very concerned that there is a double standard that is in the media, that men and women are held to two different standards in the work. You will see it. We'll see it in interviews. We'll see it on the shows. Women are underrepresented, and now we're getting a chance to see a greater representation. I'm deeply concerned that legislators are saying that we cannot trust you and cannot trust you to know what to do with your bodies. That bothers me enormously. It bothers me that and I'm going to do everything that I can to be part of the process to making sure that there is an equal rights amendment so that there is no discrimination on the basis of sex wherever you fall along the spectrum. But we are underrepresented. You look at Congress, look at the state legislatures, look at the school boards. We are over masculine and under feminine. And that balance is causing a strain that we cannot, because I cannot know what it's like to be you, Lily. I have no idea what it's like to be a 14-year-old girl. LR, I have no idea what it's like to go through I cannot understand. I can be your ally, as Renee, our director, has said. I can be your ally, but I can't know what it's like. But I can stand beside you and to do everything I can to make sure that you're heard and seen and empowered.
Absolutely. It's so important that everybody stands together, young and old, no matter how you identify, what gender you are. It's so important that we all stand together and we don't bring each other down or something. We just need to all stand together. Again, that's like what Links in the Chain, that's what I wrote it for. It's like an anthem to stand together and build each other up.
Absolutely. Any last words, LR?
I just think that I'm very honored to be interviewed by you. I'm hoping that, the numbers that we're getting on our show are insane.
I know.
And as happy as I am to have those numbers, I hope they grow.
Yep.
Because people are scared to talk. And I think that the overturning of Roe vs. Wade definitely didn't help with the scaredness, the fear of using our voice. And I just hope that one of the things I want to do in Orchid Times is to show women that you don't need to be scared. Using your voice is probably the best thing you can do. So I guess that's all I have to say.
LR, thank you so much. Lilly Mae, thank you. And MM and our director, Renee Jaworski. And thank you, everybody, for tuning into another reasonably spontaneous conversation with these amazing lights. And we will see everybody next time.
This episode of Reasonably Spontaneous Conversations has been brought to you in part by In Search of the New Compassionate Male. For more information, go to newcompassionatemale.com.